Hey, Lavinia, do you want to try it now?
Oh, host disabled participant screen sharing. Do you want me to see? It just says the error message.
Okay, try now.
Oh, there we go. Whatever you just did works.
Okay.
When I click to this screen, though, you can see everything else that's open, can't you?
Yeah, what you need to do is on PowerPoint, if you put it on slide show first.
Yeah.
Okay, and then when you do screen share, it will give you the option to just show the slideshow.
Okay, so but when I go to slideshow, I have to press escape to come out of PowerPoint, right?
No. All you need to do is if you do Alt Tab.
So I'll put it on slideshow.
And then do Alt Tab.
From the beginning. Alt Enter, Alt Tab, as in the arrow up, yeah?
Alt Tab, yeah? It'll flick through between the different windows.
Oh gosh, here we go. And then it's gone back to the PowerPoint.
Go to your Zoom screen.
Yeah, no, that's just flicking through the PowerPoint with slideshow and with the normal bits on it. I tried to do this earlier actually, but hold on. Alt Tab. You can see what I'm doing, right?
No.
Oh, can you not see the share screen right now?
No.
Oh, okay. Is it not sharing? Okay, hold on. So, can you see my PowerPoint?
No.
Okay, here's share.
Okay, now something's coming up.
Now I'm going to Alt Tab.
Yeah. That's it.
I'll go to the beginning.
Yeah. And
so when I hit from beginning,
yeah.
Then I go to Alt Tab again. It just goes back to this.
Okay, all right. Then just do from beginning.
So that's okay, I guess. As soon as I get into it, I'll
yeah, fine.
I'm just going to close down everything else that I've got.
Yeah.
Opening. Where's my big window not coming up, is it?
I'm going to stop your sharing.
Oh, yeah, there.
Okay.
Do you think I need to just position, let me position myself a little bit better.
All right. I'm going to put up some holding slides for now. Good afternoon, all. We're going to be starting in the next 2-3 minutes. We're just settling in. Got quite a few people joining us on Zoom, as well as through YouTube and our website. So just a couple more minutes. So do settle in with a nice cup of tea if you want this dull sort of Sunday afternoon. Or as Livina is indicating, some, is it lemon water? Sorry, Lamine, you need to unmute yourself.
It's my 1 cup of coffee per day. I'm just going to have it before this starts.
Brilliant. Okay, so just a few more minutes and then we'll start, everyone. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Feel Good Fitness Talk with Lavina. We've got a great session ahead of us this afternoon. I just want to hand over to Bhavani for some initial introductions.
Good afternoon, JJ Nandra, Sonia. Just before we start today's program, I just wanted to, for everybody, wherever you are participating, that we just form together and say the Navka mantra. Om Namo Ariyantanam, Om Namo Sitaram, Om Namo Ayariyanam, Om Namo Vajayanam, Namo Loye Savasavonam, Eso Panchanamo Kado, Sava Pava Panasanam, Mangalaram Cha Savesim, Paramam Have Mangalam, Paramam Have Mangalam. Just before we move to Lavina Ben, I just wanted to pass over to Mala Ben, who is a trustee at Oshwal Association of the UK, just to do some opening remarks.
મારા પ્રણામ બધાયને બહેનો ભાઈઓ તથા ખાસ કરીને વડીલો. Thank you very much to Ashish Bhai, Bhavani Bhai and the EC committee for putting this events together online. I am so pleased that it is allowing all of us to connect. મારા ખૂબ આશીર્વાદ also આશીષભાઈ ને ભાવનીબેન ને and all the EC committee અને Lavina Ben for taking time out to help with the online events and reaching out to all the members. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to listening to Lavina Ben. Thank you. અને મારો headband શું છે ખબર છે? આપણે ઘરે હોય ને તો તેલ ઘસવું જોઈએ, એટલે it's a good feel factor as well. So over to Lavina Ben. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Malaben. So just before we start, we hand over to Lavina Ben. I just want to explain the format. So I think Lavina Ben's got a little presentation and some interactive demos that she's going to show us, and then we're going to open it up to some question and answer. For the question and answer session, if you're joining in through Zoom, there should be a Q&A icon at the bottom of your Zoom window. Please use that to submit your question. If you have any comments or feedback, please use the chat icon at the bottom of your Zoom window to provide any feedback or comments. But any questions, please use the Q&A icon on your Zoom window. If you're joining us through the Oshawa website and you're looking at us through the window there, there is a small form which basically allows you to submit a question. So please submit your questions there. And if you're joining us on YouTube, there is also a chat functionality on Zoom, on YouTube. Please submit your question there and we'll try and pick the questions off. Just a heads up, in terms of managing time, we'll try and take one question from one person so that we can try and get through as many different people and as many questions as possible during the session today. So with that said, I just wanted to hand over to Lavina Ben, who I'm sure many of you will know has been putting us through our paces recently through all the different online fitness session which she's been running herself, and as well as with her mother-in-law Nisha Ben as well. So Lavina Ben, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much to Oshwal. I know that Bhavni Ben and Ashish Bhai have been incredibly busy organizing these amazing events for our community during lockdown. And I mean, what a program. I've been blessed that I've been able to take part in them. And I hope this finds you safe and well at home. I want to just today go through a short presentation. I put together some slides just to give the talk a little bit of structure. And as Ashish Bhai said, after that, if we have time, I will show you some of my favorite moves that you can do from home, anywhere in the house. And I would also love to take any questions that anyone has. So we're going to keep this hopefully quite interactive. And I will now just start my presentation. Great. So I am Lavina Mehta, but I was previously before marriage Lavina Shah, and have a long history through the family with Oshwal. I had my wedding reception at Oshwal Center, obviously been to lots of amazing functions. And my nanny actually was very religious, so she spent a lot of time in the old hook house, as we called it, doing ambel and all sorts. Every year quite religiously. So I have a company called Feel Good with Lavina, but my main emphasis is that I want people to feel good with exercise, and not just physically. I know the whole focus is how we look, and I've got some of my pictures that I must point out I didn't do for publicity reasons. My husband and I both went on a wellness journey, and we do have pictures of us before. And I think physically, obviously, it's quite nice to see, just so that I can relate, that I was a lot bigger than I am now. But more than that, I want us to feel good mentally and emotionally. And during coronavirus and in this crazy situation that none of us ever imagined, aku dunia badlai gyu che, and I think it's so important that we focus on just feeling good generally. And by exercise being a free tool that you can use yourself, it will make so many differences to all aspects of your life. I will be speaking mainly in English, so hopefully you'll be able to pick it up. My Gujarati is okay, but I prefer to speak in English today. So a little bit about me. I am a mum of 3. I'm in my 40s. I used to work in the city. After I graduated, I had quite a high-flying career. It was very exciting as a project manager in the corporate world. And I worked for BP as my last company. Lots of flying around the world, managing global teams, very large projects for them. I met my husband, and then I went part-time with our 2 young children, and I was blessed to have that opportunity. I used to go to the odd fitness class in the gym then. I wasn't a regular, I would say. It's only after I had our youngest son, Sahil, who's now 12, when he started kindergarten. So at the age of 3 or 4, I joined a local gym, and I just decided to start my own fitness journey. And it kind of stemmed from there, from being a typical, let's go to a class, sit down with the other mums, have a coffee, have a chat. It became quite a social event. And probably a lot of young mums can relate to it, because it's your first time where your child is in childcare and you have a little bit of time for yourself. So I'm just highlighting this to say that I've been on my own wellness journey. Today, I'm going to just run through this very sort of rough agenda. I'm really focusing on the health benefits of exercise, and obviously how important that's become now with how coronavirus has changed everyone's situation. We all really need to invest in our health. So as I was saying, after I had Sahil, I went to the gym. I got my own personal trainer, which was something that I'd never invested in. And I got into the world of weight training, so lifting weights. And that's an area that I'd never done. I used to go to the normal classes, you know, dance, aerobics, a little bit of body pump, yoga, Pilates, but it was strength training that I personally believe really shaped and changed my body, really transformed everything for me. And I started loving exercise. I just started seeing the changes it was making, not just physically, but in terms of energy level, in terms of being able to sleep better, in terms of my mood, which was huge because being a mum of 3 and living in a joint family, like many of our Asian community, obviously life in London is extremely busy, and it's great to find something that gives you a release where you can just switch off and enjoy. So I decided to do a training from home. I didn't tell anyone. I don't even think I told my parents at the beginning. And I did an online training course just to find out a little bit more about the actual science behind exercise, because I was enjoying it so much, with no intention to make it my business or anything. And I did a level 2 exams, coursework, late nights after the children were asleep, got my qualification to be able to teach fitness classes. But I never realized that I would actually enjoy exams again after university and after my project management qualifications. I think the thought of exams dreaded me, but I decided that I loved it so much to carry on and to do my level 3, which then enabled me to maybe start training individuals. And I'm blessed that at home we have a private gym. So I just started putting it out there. Before I even knew, I had a huge demand because it was a private gym where I just trained ladies one-to-one, and they would come to me in the comfort of my home with nobody else looking. And I absolutely loved it. I found so much, it was so rewarding to see so many different journeys where it's not always just about weight loss. A lot of them were facing things like the menopause, females, and how that changes your body. Some of them had osteoporosis, so they were in their 60s, or osteoarthritis, And we have like transformed their strength just by lifting very light weights to begin with, but their bone density has improved. Lots of, you know, individual cases, and I had this sort of company called Feel Good with Lavina because of my mum. You may know her, Kumud Shah. She's a chef and a cookery writer, so she's done a lot of community events in her time, and we wrote her book Feel Good with Food when I was pregnant with my son Sahil. I was typing it away, very heavily pregnant, and it's all about the science of food. So she did biological sciences, and she spent a few years in the British Library researching why we're actually eating these food groups. It's all well and good saying asparagus or broccoli or eat your greens because it's good for you, but why is it good? What do they contain? Is it antioxidants? Is it polyphenols? Like, what actually does that do? And how can that help prevent some of the chronic illnesses that we, especially as Asians, are so vulnerable to? Things like diabetes, type 2 diabetes, cancer has become huge, obviously, with cases like 1 in 3, 1 in 2, the stats are now, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, heart attack, stroke, the list goes on. So Mum gave me a wonderful insight into the world of food, and that went hand in hand, obviously, with exercise, fitness and food. So lately, things have changed since December. I was very blessed to have got onto Sky News TV on Christmas Day about one of my concepts that I'll be introducing you to, my exercise snacks. And it kind of spiraled from there. I was on television with Sky 3 times within 2 weeks, and I was promoting things like World Cancer Day and really focusing then on the actual stats and the research on how exercise can help not only treat, but sometimes reverse illnesses like type 2 diabetes. So just before coronavirus, so I did have a lot of radio press. It's been very exciting. 2020 has been a wonderful year because I've had a platform where I can share my passion and really try and help as many individuals and families as I can. So I raised a campaign just before coronavirus to get Asians fit, and that's our UK South Asians, where I read the statistics, and I will enlighten you guys. It was alarming, some of the facts. So as Ashish Bhai said, I have been working with Oshwal, and it's been a real honor to be able to provide workouts for the community as well on the online events. So before we start, and before I give you a little bit of information and maybe some facts and figures that you weren't expecting to hear, I wanted to throw a few questions out there for you guys. How many of you have diabetes or heart disease in your family? So Ashish Bhai, are we going to do one question at a time, or?
No, all the questions will come up on the poll. So if you're on Zoom, we're just going to be launching a poll with the questions you see on the screen. If you can just fill them in, and we'll get some feedback from everyone then.
Brilliant. So hopefully that is on everyone's screens at the moment. Yes. I think I might have to fill out mine as well. So I will do this with you actually. Okay, I'm going to leave it to the attendees to view. Just some simple questions, just to make you think and just see how exercise, whether it plays a part in your life at the moment or not. So on the 4th question, you will see that I have stated some guidelines. They're actually from the NHS and from the UK government, and the US government use the same guidelines. It's very general goal for us all to have for optimum health. And by hitting these guidelines, the statistics are incredible in terms of how they can help reduce your risk of so many of the chronic illnesses I've mentioned. And aerobic activity, just to explain in case you're answering this, so 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity is something like going for a light jog, a cycle, a swim, maybe like an aerobic class. So you're not completely out of breath, but you're training and you're moving and exercising. So like a typical class in a gym. Vigorous intensity aerobic activity is where your heart rate will be elevated even more into the anaerobic training zone, where you do, if you're doing the activity, so like a high intensity, a HIIT session, or a run rather than a jog, something that's going to really raise your heart rate, and you would sort of struggle to maintain a conversation. So that's more vigorous intensity aerobic activity. And strength training means anywhere that you're using your body weight or some resistance. So you're adding on some extra weight. But that does include body weight yoga as well, which is also great for strength training your body. But think about whether you're actually using weights in any of your sessions. So be it very light ankle weights or 1 or 2 kg dumbbells. Have a little think whether you're doing that, maybe in a class like body pump, or whether you do any strength training of your own from home or in your gym as well. How's that looking, Ashish? Is it, we've got 48% of people, I think, voting so far.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it for a few more, half a more minute, I think.
Yes. And by lockdown routine, on question 3, I mean during coronavirus, while we've been isolating and not being able to leave our houses, have you taken, if you're allowed, the daily exercise where you can leave your house with social distancing, or have you done any exercising at home with maybe our Oshwal schedule or anything of your own that you may have already been doing? Things like walking or yoga, fitness classes, any type of consistent activity.
Right. I think we've had 48% respond back. It's been a good few minutes, so I think
I'll have a little look. Shall we? Let's have a little look at. I've got some of the results in front of me. So from the 52% now that have voted out of people that are watching on Zoom, we have a yes to 54% have said yes, that you have a history of diabetes or heart disease in your family. And I'm very happy to see that 46% of no. It would be interesting if we've got the demographics of the people that are answering this. So I'm really hoping I'm wondering maybe that's maybe our younger generation, a little bit more of the viewers today, but let's see, let's carry on. So do you currently exercise regularly? Yay, so 77% of you have said yes. That actually makes my day. I'm so pleased. I'm very passionate about making sure our especially Asian community start exercising more, because the actual YouGov poll and the statistics that I'll go through show that a lot of us are still very physically inactive compared to the general white population. Do you have a consistent lockdown workout routine? So this is quite an interesting one. Only 31% of you do, and 69% don't have a consistent lockdown workout routine. So that would be something, obviously the government are going to be announcing some slight changes I feel today in terms of maybe easing off restrictions, but I still feel the majority, especially our seniors and everyone, will still have to stay at home. So I would really love to get these figures up a little bit more over the next few weeks. So a lot more of you exercising, hopefully, after you've listened to my talk today. So do you hit the government guidelines for physical activity? That's great. There's 69% of you think you are doing 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity a week. So that means maybe 30 minutes 5 times a week, or even if you break it up into shorter amounts, like my snacks that I'll be talking about, that's really, really positive. So well done, everyone. And aerobic activity is really key to help keeping our heart strong, our lungs strong. Obviously, it's going to help you lose weight as well, but getting that big tick in is going to help you reduce so many of the chronic illnesses, and the stats are pretty amazing. I will just show you a couple of the statistics. So I do know these off by heart, but I've been doing quite a lot of presentations lately. So government guidelines, if you hit everything, that 150 minutes aerobic activity or 75 minutes vigorous and 2 or 3 strength training workouts, if you do the whole combination, it can lower your risk by up to 83% of osteoarthritis, 50% lower risk of type 2 diabetes and colon cancer, which is pretty amazing, I think. It reduces your chances of an early death by a whopping 30%. And that is just by doing these 3, like making this combination of exercise work for you. 35% less risk of coronary heart disease and stroke. 30% less risk of falls, dementia and depression. And I think strength training plays a massive part there, especially with falls, because your bones will be getting stronger. And breast cancer, 20% less risk of breast cancer, which is pretty amazing. And maybe if I'd included all those other illnesses in the first question, then there have been more yeses, because unfortunately now with cancer, we are looking at pretty much knowing someone, you know, if it's 1 in 3, we all know someone that it's unfortunately got to. So what are your main barriers? Well, I thought this might be it, but I think everyone's being very honest about cost. Nobody said cost is a barrier. I personally think that sometimes, you know, when I first started off, I had never invested. I paid my gym membership, but I've never invested for a trainer of my own or anyone to give me one-to-one help. I personally think, you know, from talking to people, that cost may be a barrier for some, but it's not obviously for our Oshol viewers today. Motivation seems like the biggest one, and that's pretty much what I was expecting in all the radio, TV, everything I've given. When I was talking, I talked about Blue Monday, which was at the beginning of the year in January, where most people are likely to give up their fitness resolutions by the 20th of January. And fitness is probably the top one, that you start the year off and say, I'm going to start exercising, I'm going to join the gym, and I'm going to smash it this year. It's amazing that just within 3 weeks, so many people actually can't keep that resolution. So I did a big piece about barriers of why people can't carry that on, and time and motivation are the biggest two. So you guys have completely hit the nail on the head there. 15% said lack of knowledge, and there was other 15%. So it'd be interesting to see what that other 15% is. And do you lack knowledge on what to do? So actually 62% of you said you don't lack knowledge, and 38% of you say you do. So that's great. And thank you so much for your honesty. I actually find this very fascinating in terms of, yeah, if we could share those, that would be amazing. But thank you very much. That's great. And we will cover some of these things during this talk. So Thanks for your input, and I will now, let's move on to a little bit more of the content here. So in terms of our British nation, unfortunately, we are in a national obesity crisis, and that is the country. The World Health Organization said that a lack of physical activity is more significant a health risk than even being overweight and obese. And I put that in bold because it's quite an eye-opener, I think, just that line, and it's the World Health Organization, one of the most trusted sources. So the latest research shows that only 62% of adults in England do the 150 minutes. So that's quite similar to what we had. I think, Ashish, was that question, was it about 61%? I think.
Yes,
I think it's quite similar to our Oshwal answer there. And that's adults hitting that guideline of just the aerobic side. What is quite alarming, and this is why I raised a big campaign for awareness, is that only 55% of Asians actually reach this goal. And I wanted to cover children as well, because I am a mother of 3, and only 39% of Asian children, that's between 5 and 16, hit the recommended 60 minutes per day. So I found that quite alarming. I'm blessed that my children are quite sporty and active. They're all boys, so that probably helps. And I didn't even think that would be the case. Sending them to school, I just imagined they'd all be running around in the playground, but this just shows that maybe so many of our children aren't even hitting 60 minutes per day. So Asians are still less likely than the average population to be physically active. I mentioned that before, and I want to emphasize that, but overall, we're still less likely. And the research shows that Asian men are slightly more active than women. I think there's quite a lot of barriers, and I went through this when I was campaigning about this, in terms of lots of barriers. Like, I know that a lot of us live in joint families, and we prioritize the health and looking after our loved ones, sometimes more than ourselves. That's just such an Asian cultural thing. And it might look selfish, you know, even when I lived as a joint family, my family were incredible, but there's obviously so many things to do in the house. For me to then say, I'm going out to exercise now, I'll make dinner when I come back, it can be quite challenging as a female. So I'm not sure whether that's one of the barriers. I know with communities like Muslim groups, obviously, women find it quite hard to go into shared gyms, and they're looking for single-sex instructors or facilities. And, you know, sometimes women, we're just, I guess maybe we're just not as active. So that's something that I would love to change. And the obesity crisis is massive, because they're saying 2/3 of adults in England are actually overweight, and 29% of adults are clinically obese. So quite an eye-opener. I hope these statistics, and this presentation will be available later on YouTube, have a little look at these again, because I mean, this is the stuff that I was feeding me and my passion to really get out there and help get awareness about this. Now let's go on to the top 2, I would say, in our Asian communities: diabetes and heart disease. And I'm so glad that lots of you don't have this in your families. I will put the word "yet" there on it, because there's so many people out there that actually have signs of diabetes, pre-diabetes, and you don't even know that you've got it. So diabetes is massive in the UK. It's costing the NHS budget, it's about 40% of the NHS budget. It's over 4 million cases in the UK a year. And the problem with diabetes is that as long as people remain and keep getting overweight, more and more people are going to fall under these categories of being pre-diabetic or diabetic. Obviously, type 1 diabetes is something we cannot reverse, but type 2 diabetes is the one I want to hit on really with exercise and living a healthier lifestyle, healthier nutrition. There's so much we can do there. So South Asians are 6 times more likely to have diabetes than the white population. I mean, these facts, I know them so well, they still scare me when I read them. And pre-diabetes is like a ticking time bomb. 1.3 million, that increased in 1 year to 2 million, and the majority were under the age of 40. So, guys, if you know there is a larger, younger audience right now, please listen. And diabetes is actually predicted to increase by 47% in the next 5 years. I think that's huge. So, like I said, pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes are largely preventable through exercising regularly and having a healthy, nutritious diet. Now, diabetes then leads on to things like heart disease, and UK South Asians have 2 times more likely to have heart disease compared to the general population. And we have a risk, 50% higher risk of coronary heart disease than the white population. So diabetes then can increase your risk of having coronary heart disease and of having a heart attack. So these two are huge, alarming, unfortunately killers, but there's still stuff that we can do. So this is the time now, guys. If you're not exercising regularly, I would love you all to take a little look at what we can do now, and let's take action. Lockdown has been one of the, I know, a stressful time for everyone, but when have we actually had this time to be at home, to be with our families? And it's a time to reflect, a time to sort of stop and have that pause button and think, what can I do to give me a chance of living a longer and healthier life? So physical activity and healthy eating are definitely going to reduce your risks. And exercise has a huge wealth of benefits. You know, you didn't put cost as a barrier, which I'm really pleased about, because there's so many things that I'm going to show you that are free that you can do from home without that cost. So that's taken that whole factor away. But when you have diabetes, in terms of controlling your blood sugar and your insulin resistance, exercise can definitely help that. And it also helps reduce your blood pressure, improves your cholesterol. These are all things that I'm sure a lot of you may have heard from your GPs, family members, maybe if you've got children, you know, that are middle-aged and always telling their parents to exercise. I tell my parents all the time, but are all of us actually putting this into practice? I think that's the question. So there is this urgent need that I want to try and intervene and try and really get our Asian communities, which are unfortunately at risk. And we've just seen now the research about Black, Asian and minority ethnic groups, the BAME community that you'll hear about on the news. With coronavirus, we have had 1/3 of the COVID cases have been Asian. I mean, there's a lot of reasons behind that, but we are, even in this situation, we're at higher risk. So some basic tips, and I will go through what we can do. Maintaining a healthy weight. So we have this measurement called the body mass index, the BMI, and you can just go on to the NHS website. You can even go onto Google and say BMI calculator, and you would put in your weight, your height. It'll ask you whether you're male or female, It'll ask you about your ethnic background. It'll just ask you some very simple, it takes literally a minute. And I do this for all my clients that I see, because it's one of those, it's a general indicator, but it's a good one to start off with, just as an eye opener. And you want to aim for your BMI to be in the healthy range between 18.5 and 24.9. One of the things I also do is take body measurements, especially for females. I don't like people always looking at their weight. So when you get on the scales, and I've told so many friends and clients, stop weighing yourself every day, because you're just looking at your overall weight. And when you start strength training, if your muscle mass increases, your weight can actually go up, but you will look slimmer. So what you do need to look at is your body fat and your muscle mass. And not all of us have, obviously, machines at home, although you can buy some very basic ones off Amazon. What I like to do, especially with women, is to see how we feel in our clothes. And I take photos regularly of my clients, and I always take their measurements, almost like an Indian darji. But the waist measurement is something that we can all do right now from home today. And it's a great indicator, because this is what you would go into your GP or a health check, and they would probably say, okay, you're Indian, I'm going to take your waist measurement. And if it's over 80 centimeters for a woman and over 90 centimeters for a man, it is going to put you at higher risk, especially for things like diabetes. So guys, have a little check, you know, there's no harm. No one's going to know, just you. Have a little check of your waist measurement, and that's the circumference around your belly button, just with a basic measure tape. It's a really good indicator. And just do it maybe every few weeks. Don't get bogged down with your weight every day, especially as a female. We have our cycles, so things change on a daily basis. But you do it regularly, maybe fortnightly. I would say monthly is a good rule of thumb, and see how it goes. So following an exercise routine regularly is what I would love everyone to be doing. I just also want to talk about my slogan through lockdown. And if you've done any of my workouts on Oshwell, you will see that I will probably get this out there at some point, even if I'm jumping around or sweating, or if I'm doing it with my Sasu. I've had her, Mommy's explained it in Gujarati for the senior workout, that we right now are exercising for sanity. And she asked me, what is sanity? We want to stay sane through this process. There is so many unknowns in terms of people's businesses. Life has changed so much in the last 2 months that yes, we should, obviously we all want to look better, but I think right now we want to feel better mentally and try and use exercise to reduce the stress, the anxiety. You know, so many people going into depression, and the mental health benefits of exercise is what I really, really want to promote. When you exercise, you release, and I know it's cringy, but yes, feel good, like I am wearing feel good endorphins, and they're just in your body waiting to be released. And when you get into a workout, I guarantee at some point, I know sometimes exercise is hard and we are putting stress on our body, but the benefits are huge, and you will feel that sudden rush, that endorphin release, and you will feel the happy hormones being released, and dopamine, the endorphins, all of those are in your body, and you're going to feel great. You will actually feel excellent after the workout. I can pretty much guarantee it. So what can we do? I'm going to give you some ideas. This is based on my whole concept of exercise snacks. And I've had to explain that it's not snacking, it's not eating a chocolate bar while we're exercising. It is about taking short bouts of exercise. So where we want to hit maybe 30 minutes of aerobic activity 5 times a week, you could just do 5 minutes at a good pace where you're raising your heart rate and you are feeling warmer and your breathing is increased. You could just do 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and you could actually, these all count. So you don't have to do a full hour in one go. And I think the reason I love this whole concept is that I want you to use it as a little treat. Just like we have probably all been snacking a bit too much during lockdown, the tendency is there, the kitchen, we're all in our homes, probably in the kitchen so many hours of the day, the fridge is there, the cupboards are full. There's been a lot of snacking, but I would love you all to start exercise snacking. It is free. I'm going to tell you some great tips today of what you can do. It's easy, it's quick, you don't have to change your clothes, you don't have to, you're in lockdown, you can do it in whatever you're comfortable in, no one's going to see you in your home. And these small steps, so finding something you enjoy, and they will then eventually become habits, and you will then be able to hit the government guidelines for reducing over 20 different chronic diseases, and it's going to really help those with type 2 diabetes, controlling your blood sugar. So, shall I give you a little couple of examples of my whole exercise snacking? I have a feel-good fitness prescription. I must say these photos, I've explained several before, I had kept everything very personal. I'm a very private person. And it was only in September that my husband and I, last July, we had our anniversary. And because I thought we'd both done quite well with our own personal journey, I just said to him, as an anniversary present, let's just get some pictures done. And we both just did it at home. We weren't going to share them with anyone. Obviously, then the whole world of social media has taken off, and I have now released these pictures in September. I just want them to maybe show you, to inspire you, and for you to understand that I've been through it. So I understand how hard it is to follow exercise routine. I'm not saying it's easy. It takes time, it takes perseverance, it takes consistency. But you know what? Trust me, you will feel great, yeah? Body and mind. That's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually as well with exercise. So I have a fitness prescription that I like to say. It just gets people's attention when I say, I think the word prescription, because we are obviously living through a world where there's so many drugs, so many quick fixes, pop a pill and I'll feel better. Well, exercise is a free drug. Yeah, it's there, we can all use it. And I've covered 4 different areas that I would love you all to do as part of your routines. And 2 of the areas I think you're going to absolutely love and think, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I could do this and it's going to give me so many benefits. Mobility and stretch. They are not ones where you're going to be sweating it out or feeling exhausted. They're going to make you feel great. So calm, and it's going to help with mobility of your joints. I will talk you through lots of examples. And then we also have cardio, which is the aerobic activity. And we also have strength training. So using a bit of resistance. And let me show you some nice free tips, free ideas for all 4 of those areas. So we have the mobility snack. And I've been saying lately that sitting is the new smoking. We are unfortunately having a lot, our lifestyle is just more sedentary, desk-based, sofa-based maybe at the moment. In terms of lockdown, there's so many things we could all be binge watching on Netflix, and so many opportunities to just sit on that sofa. Now, that damage it does to our bodies, and this rounding, this continuous screen use, we're all like this, on our phones, our backs are getting rounded, it's called kyphosis. we want to try and undo that damage of sitting for too long. And it's just easy, and I call them dynamic because it's mobility. It's work that you would do at the beginning of a workout, almost like your warm-up. But I would love people to do this if they're working from home, if they have been sitting on the sofa too long. Set an alarm, maybe every half an hour, or even start off with every hour. Get up, do some small movements, and I can show you a few. Hopefully we'll have a little bit of time. This is going to help wake up those inactive, sleepy muscles, and it's going to give you that full range of movement in these joints. So even like our shoulders being a ball and socket joint, do we actually give our neck, our shoulders, all of our parts of our body that movement that is just being starved of in our modern lives? And by doing this, it can help you reduce things where I have so many people saying to me, I've got back pain, or I've got neck pain, or my hips are tight. And that's because we've probably been sitting for too long. So have a little think of that, mobility. Cardio ideas for lockdown especially, and afterwards. I mean, these are things that I've been saying from the beginning. I love walking. I'm not a runner. I'll just put my hands up and say I'm not a runner. I did do a 5K recently for the Run for Heroes going on in lockdown. I was nominated. Walking for me is therapy. And I'm talking about walking, and I know a lot of us think, oh, it's exercise. It's physical activity. Yes, you're moving. I'm sure you're running around, hoovering, cleaning, washing up. But I want you to actually get your heart pumping. And that means by actually raising your heart rate. So you need to pick up a pace and do some exercise, like brisk walking. And these exercise snacks have been proven that even if you do 5 minutes 6 times a day, rather than doing 30 minutes in one go, because you might feel you don't have time, because that's one of our biggest barriers that we've already identified today in the poll. Just think, have you got 5 minutes? So a quick walk around your garden at a nice, fast pace. Not overexerting yourself, but one where you can feel that you can still talk, but your heart rate, your breathing has all increased. It's a brisk walk. These are just as good. These little walk snacks, as I call them, are just as good as doing 30 minutes in one go. And if you hit that 5 times 30 minutes, so that 150 minutes over the week that we want to hit the goal, it, like I said, can increase your life expectancy by up to 3 years. We could live longer by 3 years. And it can lower your risk of heart disease, stroke, and diabetes by up to 30 to 40%. I've said this at the Oshawa Seniors sessions with my Sasul. We've said it in Gujarati and English. I've said it at the beginning just to say that, wow, 30 to 40% just from doing some brisk walking, maybe little snacks, and then you start building up. I'm sure that 5 minutes, you'll start enjoying it, because if you can get out in nature, whether it's your garden, I know a lot of you might not be able to leave the house, the elderly. I am lucky that I can obviously leave safely, social distance. When we're all allowed out, try and go to your local park or somewhere with some greenery, because nature is almost forest bathing, as they call it. The fact that you're seeing that greenery, it actually helps a part of your brain that's going to help combat depression, anxiety, and health benefits are amazing. It's honestly my therapy. If I'm ever working too hard, a little bit stressed out, feel like I haven't exercised, I mean, I walk on a daily basis and it just clears my mind. I feel so good afterwards. So give it a go, everyone. A second option that I've been promoting in lockdown specifically, because I think it's the perfect solution in lockdown, use your stairs in your own house. Now, most of us have stairs, whether you're in a flat and you have the public stairwell, if you're in your own home, unless you're in a bungalow, but even then you'll have one step or two steps, maybe outside or somewhere in your porch, you can go up and down. Incredible study that I've been on TV and radio about. 2019, they did a study, 3 flights of stairs, 3 times a day, 3 days a week. 3 is the magic number, and over a 6-week period, they saw incredible improvements to people's cardio, respiratory health, their cardiovascular health, their fitness, their overall body health and power. And stair snacks are excellent for helping control blood sugar for people with type 2 diabetes. So I've got a little bit of text there. There's a way that I like to say to people, your three flights, you could even start off with 1 flight, because when I actually thought of this idea, it was in January where I walked up a meeting, a flight of stairs, and even I was out of breath, and I shocked myself. I was thinking, oh my goodness, I feel out of breath. And I'm sure a lot of you may feel like that. So even if you start off with 1 flight of stairs, just go up once, you can build up to 3 times a day, and tie it on an existing habit. So tie it maybe onto your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That before I eat breakfast, or even after, they both have benefits in terms of blood sugar control and so on. Before breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'm going to just try this at home, give it a go. I would love to hear your feedback, but it's something, it's a little idea, a stair snack you can do at home. I'll just quickly talk to you about HIIT training, which is high intensity training. I don't do a lot of it because I'm in my 40s and I'm getting a bit older, and I'm worried about my joints and the impact that things like running and HIIT can potentially have on your joints. But a short amount, a short snack is what I would do, and I build that into my training programs, are really, really effective in terms of building your muscle strength, your bone strength, and even helps your brain. So we all have that question, and I hear it all the time, Lavina, my stomach, in fact, the stomach never goes. And this visceral fat, that's the scary fact that a lot of us Asians carry around. Now, I know after pregnancy for women, it's extremely difficult to lose that last bit. But as we age, and we do unfortunately see our Asian body types, we have a lot of, a lot of us have larger stomachs, and that's a visceral fat. That's the hidden fat that we can't see, that's especially dangerous. And doing a little bit of higher intensity work can actually be really, really effective. So keep that in mind. I mean, I build it into the Oshwal family fitness session that we do on Tuesday at 9 o'clock. I'll always add in a little bit of HIIT training. I feel like it's not going to impact my joints, and more than anything, I've got into weight training so much that I want to preserve my muscle mass that I've worked so hard over the last 10 years to gradually increase. So I don't want to lose muscle mass, so I do a little bit of HIIT rather than going for a long distance run. But just obviously do something that you enjoy. If you like running, I'm not saying it's bad for you. I'm just saying try and get a balanced overall program. Let's just talk about my favorite very quickly, strength training, a strength snack. So I mean, let's get strong body and mind. Strength training is where you could just start off with your body weight. And I will try and show you a couple of moves if we can, if we're, not out of time. It is going to help you burn fat and build lean muscle. It is excellent for, actually right now in coronavirus, strength training releases myokines, which help find and control potential infection in the body. and it's going to help get our bones stronger. So helping to prevent things like osteoporosis. It's great for Alzheimer's because you're really keeping your brain active, and it can really help reverse the aging process. So guys, I would love you all to start strength training. And if you need help, join one of our sessions on a Tuesday morning. It will give you a really good introduction to it. Stretch is probably my favorite. I always do it on Sundays, like my day off, and I do believe in taking rest days, guys. So if you're training hard, make sure you take a rest. With time for your muscles to recover and rebuild, and you will get better results with that rest. So don't train 7 days a week. You could go for a walk or do something low intensity, a swim or something like that, but stretching is key to help reduce any chance of injury, increasing your flexibility, helping your muscles to recover that soreness that we feel after a workout, and more than anything, it's going to just de-stress you, and it's going to help you feel great mentally. So what is the goal? I guess I've given you a lot of little ideas. I've just put this slide together to say, just if you wanted to, like a little prescription, I'd love you to do the stair snacks, plus try and aim for the walk snacks to build up to the government guideline, or if you want to do a bit of HIIT training for vigorous intensity, all great, and try and build in some strength training. If you don't have dumbbells, do not worry. All of my workouts have safe household objects. So we use things like tins, plastic bottles, water bottles, cartons, just something plastic, non-glass, and you will be even a rucksack is great for things like squats. So there's no excuses. I've got answers and ideas for everything for people from home. And this is just a little picture of, just to remind you of the things that we have on offering at the moment during lockdown. The Tuesday sessions at 9 o'clock is for all levels. My 12-year-old son has been working out with us, providing free workouts through the whole of lockdown. He's obviously back at school now, and he's got exams next week. But Menel, my husband, normally joins me for that, to inspire men that my workouts are going to challenge you, but I always show beginners and seniors easy options where you may not be lifting any additional weight, you may just be using your body weight. And I cover the whole feel good prescription. We will always warm up with mobility work, we'll do cardio, we'll be doing strength training, and we'll be doing stretch. And the seniors fitness classes have had an amazing response. My Sasu, it was a wild idea of mine that I would love to help the vulnerable, those at home, like my parents living away, far from me, that I can't see. And because of our statistics with these illnesses, they're more vulnerable and they're less likely to be able to fight potential infection. So I really, really want to help our seniors, our elderly, are less mobile. Even they can do simple chair workouts, movements to keep them just physically moving and active during lockdown. So that is my presentation complete, and we will just go back to the main. Oh, a minute, I'm back on now. Okay. I'm going too quick on my. Any questions, Ashish?
Thank you, Lavina Ben, for that really insightful presentation. And I just want to remind everybody, if you have any questions, if you've joined us through Zoom, please use the Q&A icon to ask it. And you know, there were a few on the website as well. So we've got a few minutes. Let's just take them from website.
I know I'm conscious of time. I would love to show people a couple of moves if they want, or we can address questions, whatever you would prefer.
So we've got a couple of questions. Somebody is asking, they do walking as normal, but they've never done weight training, and they're in their late 50s. How would they go about starting weight training?
So even in late 50s, you would even be able to do things like squats. So I teach even in the seniors class, for those that are a little bit older than yourself, I'm teaching them how to sit and stand from a chair, because I think it's such an important functional movement that we want to all try and maintain our independence just by sitting and standing. Body weight moves to start off with. I will give you my top 5, and this is something I did want to demonstrate if you had time. A squat is the perfect one for your lower body to engage all the muscles, so it's a compound move. And maybe join one of the sessions that's coming up, because I'll be able to talk you through the teaching points on how to do a squat correctly. Things like lunges, if you have no issues, I always say do a reverse lunge, which is safer on your knees. Press-ups are fantastic for building upper body strength. So you can start off with press-ups. I always start everyone off in either sessions or one-to-one sessions on the wall, because that's going to help build your strength up before you go down onto the floor. And one of my favorite moves is a plank. So you could start off with a high plank and then progress onto your forearms. So, and glute bridges, that's where you're lying on the mat and you lift your hips up and down. I don't know if you want me to quickly demonstrate, or if they can join one of our workouts, that would be ideal. And you'll be able to hear the teaching points that I keep going over for good form and technique, because I'm very hot on that. I don't want people to do things wrong.
I think they can join on the Thursday 11 o'clock morning session, which Lavina Ben does, which is specifically for seniors, to give you some idea of additional sort of exercises other than just walking.
Yeah.
We also have another question. Somebody who says they've got osteoporosis, arthritis, and they were wondering what would be the best exercise to help build up bone density.
Exactly the above. Those top 5, so squats, planks, glute bridges, press-ups, lunges, using your body weight, even trying some yoga, because in a lot of the yoga positions, you are carrying your body weight. Things like downward facing dog, when we're doing sun salutation and we're doing the whole flow, you are still using your body weight. But yes, try and join one of my sessions. We would just start off with body weight, especially if you've got osteoarthritis or osteoporosis. You're going to have to listen to your body, and you build up to then maybe just some tins, using some light weights, like we do things like shoulder presses, which will start engaging all of these muscles, things like rows as well. So the seated workout is a great option for anyone that's slightly older. But I have had clients, like I said, with osteoporosis and osteoarthritis, and I have, testimonials like on my website. You can have a look. There are so many things that you can still do. It is never too late. So I would really encourage you to start strength training, resistance training, even those resistance bands. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're small elasticated bands, are fantastic for you just at home. You can order them off Amazon. They're just adding a little bit of resistance. So putting them around above your knees when you're lifting your hip up and down into glute bridge or hip bridges, they add a little bit of resistance. So they're a really good one as well to start off with.
We've also got a question coming through some WhatsApp. Somebody asking us that generally statistics show that men die before women, and what is the key exercises to help improve longevity and for men? So any specific male-oriented exercises or?
I would love you to hit that feel good, that prescription of mine. I think it's everything combined. Unfortunately, we know that stress is such a big killer, and obviously our cells in our body can change and things like cancer can start. So that's why I wouldn't say there's just what, I wish there was a magical one exercise. It's putting it all into practice. I'm not saying do everything on that list overnight, but start off small, start enjoying things, find something that you enjoy. So if you don't like swimming, you know, when we're allowed out, maybe start walking at a brisk pace, try different options, find something you enjoy. That's the key to keep it sustainable, because I don't believe in short-term fixes. I want this to become part of your lifestyle, and I would love you to be able to hit all the boxes of aerobic activity, strength training, mobility and stretch, because you know, things like I said, mobility and stretch also play a part, especially with our mental health. And like you say, the statistics of men dying are higher than women. So I think it's all together trying to, you know, hit the balance between everything.
Right, thank you. So I think we are just over 3 o'clock. I don't see any additional questions come through, but I think what we'll do here is if I can bring Malabin in to say some closing remarks, and then we'll conclude for today. So Malabin, can you hear us? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lavina. It was very inspiring, very, very informative as well, with logistics of you know, how can you do some training, some exercises at home. Very helpful. Thank you so much. All I would say to everybody who participated or who was watching and didn't ask a question, or you know, was reluctant or etc. What I would say to all of you is, it takes 21 days to form a habit. So 21 days એટલે 21 દિવસ તમે habit પાડો કે સવારના 10 મિનિટ તમે કરો ને સાંજના તમે 10 મિનિટ કરો. તો આ 2 મહિનાનું લોકડાઉન હતું ને, તો અત્યારે બધા લવીના જેમ એકદમ ફિટ થઈ ગયા. So on that note, thank you to Oshwal community, our members, ખાસ કરીને આશીષભાઈ, ભાવનીબેન and Lavina-ben, thank you so much for such a beautiful, entertaining afternoon. Everybody, pranam mara, and enjoy the rest of the evening. And see you tonight, actually, at the
Yes.
Under 12 Talent Show.
Exactly. Pranam, Jay Janendra. Thank you to our Vice President. Thank you, Bhavna Ben, Ashish Bhai, Bhavni. Great opportunity, and I hope that you all stay safe, fit and well.
Thank you, Lavina Ben, and thank you all for joining. But like Lavina Ben has highlighted, this is only one talking session. There's a lot of exercise sessions which we do in Oshwal. So Tuesday, 9 o'clock, please do join. Thursdays, 11 o'clock, please do join. The Thursday 11 o'clock is specifically for the seniors, so please do definitely join that. We also have sessions of chair yoga on Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock, so please do join those. And there are some additional exercise sessions as well, Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock, as well as Sunday morning at 9:30. So there's absolutely no excuse from anybody. There's a full variety of exercise sessions available almost any day of the week through Oshwal, all free to join online. So please do join us. And as Malabin pointed out, let's form a new habit in the sort of 21 days and whatever period the lockdown continues for and beyond. So thank you again, Lavina Ben. Thank you again, Malabin, Bani, and everybody for joining. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone. Safe.